Hello and welcome to episode 168 of Tall Guy Talks Travel with Rick Doherty. Of course, I am your host, Rick Doherty. Monday is Earth Day and the 26th birthday for Walt Disney World's fourth theme park, Disney's Animal Kingdom. Whenever we're talking DAK, we have to invite Animal Kingdom's biggest fan to be on the show. She is my co-host and good friend, Maz. She'll be here to help me put together a tier list for all of the attractions at DAK. Before we get started, make sure that you are checking us out at the Tall Guy Talks Travel with Rick Doherty YouTube channel. Of course, we need you to be subscribed, but also make sure that you're liking videos and podcast episodes while dropping in some nice comments. We have been doing this show for over 3 years, and we have never made a dime off of it. We have raised money for charities, and we have paid to show you events and post the podcast online. We don't ask for much, and everything we are asking you right now is 100% free. Like, comment, subscribe, tell friends, and we will continue to grow this thing. Let's get things started. Thanks for joining us, Maz.
Thanks for having me back.
So we were originally going to do this as one episode, and then we were talking about something else, and we realized there's no way on God's green earth we were going to contain this to one episode. So on the fly, we decided that we are going to do a tier list. Many of you heard that last year, Sarah Says and I did a tier list for Disneyland, and we ranked all of their rides. Well, Maz and I were going to do that for Walt Disney World, but now we decided instead of just doing all 4 parks at the same time, we are going to do Disney's Animal Kingdom. And then when we're ever struggling to come up with topics, then we can just move on to Hollywood Studios in a couple months. And then we'll do Epcot at some point. And of course, we'll wrap it up with what will probably be 3 episodes about Magic Kingdom.
Yes.
But Maz's favorite theme park is Disney's Animal Kingdom. So before we get started, just give everybody your sales pitch for Animal Kingdom and why you think it is the best park.
Oh boy, putting me on the spot. Let me start with it is not a zoo. That was my, mistake for many years. I was like, I got zoos at home. Why would I go to one on vacation? It is so much more than that. Everything is so much more immersive. You really feel like you are walking into an oasis that is outside of anywhere you've ever been. And it also just happens to have animals. And it also just happens to have the world of Avatar. And it also just happens to have incredible food and great attractions. It is everything you could want from an incredibly themed experience in one spot.
And if you want to celebrate Animal Kingdom, it is having a birthday on Monday. I just remembered. Earth Day 1998 is when they opened Disney's Animal Kingdom. So we're going to do a tier list. If you don't know what this is, we're going to take all of the attractions at Disney's Animal Kingdom. We are going to place them in either S, that's the best, S is the superior tier, and then A, B, C, or D tier. Those are just regular grades like you find in school. I know that maybe I had a few more of those Ds than Maz had, but besides Animal Kingdom's upcoming birthday, one of the reasons we wanted to do this one first is because we're pretty sure a lot of changes are coming to Animal Kingdom soon. By the time this episode airs, they may have announced some of them, and that's not too far in the future. So we wanted to cover this while these things were still at Animal Kingdom. Right now, let's start with something sort of mid so we get that chance to debate a little bit. Maharaja Jungle Trek is a walking trail. This is very much within the theme of Animal Kingdom. It is definitely part of its mission is to have these walking trails. It is very well themed. You get to see tigers, and that's just awesome. But it's not a ride. It doesn't have a 90-minute wait. So this is definitely something that I think I could see it going a number of different places. If you were going to rate this, where would you rate it?
That's tough. I think I would put it at either B or C. I'm leaning towards B just because even though it isn't a ride, it's an attraction that doesn't have a wait. So if you are looking for something to do, or if you're looking for entertainment in Animal Kingdom and you don't want to wait in that 90-minute line, this is a great way to still see some of the themes of the park without having to wait.
And one of the things I said when I did the Disneyland tier list with Sarah Says is most things are average. That's just the definition of the world and things existing. Most things aren't the best and most things aren't the worst. So we're going to have most things kind of falling in this B range. And I think Maharaja Jungle Trek, being that it is so well themed, that it's photogenic as all get out, and that it's so on point with the purpose of this theme park, that I think B is a really, really good spot for Maharaja Jungle Trek.
Yeah, I definitely will agree with you there. And like you said, most things will be average, and that doesn't mean we don't like them. You know, they're still great experiences.
And we talked about how Animal Kingdom is probably going to be changing soon, and that Dino Land USA is probably going to be a thing of the past. That announcement, I'm sure, coming at least by D23, if not before then. But we already have 2 defunct attractions that are on this tier list, but I think we both experienced both of them, so I'm going to include them anyway. The first one is Rivers of Light. And what's unfortunate is Rivers of Light was a great nighttime show at Animal Kingdom when they were really making a push to keep people there at night. Now it's hardly ever open past 7 o'clock. So they got rid of this show. Now there's just this empty seating area where basically all you do is, if somebody in your party doesn't want to ride Expedition Everest, they sit here and have a pretzel and wait for you. But Rivers of Light was a really, really good show. It used a lot of that projection technology that they use in Fantasmic. And I know Fantasmic is one of your favorites. So what did you think about Rivers of Light?
Oh, I loved Rivers of Light. This is an easy like A tier for me. I thought it was a great attraction. I thought it was very clever the way they used projection mapping and lights and music to tell this beautiful story without having to use pyrotechnics, because obviously they can't shoot off fireworks in the park because of the animals. And I thought that it still was very immersive. It still grabbed you. The first time I did this, I didn't really go into it with any expectations, and I walked out of it wowed. And I think that is the sign of a really great attraction or show.
Especially at Disney, I've found the few times that I wasn't expecting anything and was really blown away, those end up being the attractions or the experiences or the shows that really, really stick with me. And we'll get to one of them in a few minutes. But I want to go to the other defunct attraction, and this is in Dino Land USA, or it was in Dino Land USA, but they got rid of this even before some of the other Dino Land attractions. I think this was sort of the first canary in the coal mine for Dino Land USA when they got rid of Primeval Whirl. And here's what I'm going to say about this ride. If this ride were at Hershey Park or Six Flags or Busch Gardens, great parks, but I don't expect them to be the same level as Disney, I would probably be kinder to this ride, but I think I want to have it as a D. It is a cookie cutter ride. At least the ride mechanics were cookie cutter. It really jerked your back around. It was uncomfortable. Apparently, from what I heard, there used to be bees that would get in there from the trees back there. That's one of the reasons, at least I heard a rumor, that they closed it was because it was getting bees so often. Now, the only thing I will give it is that while it is a cookie cutter ride layout, they did actually make it so it is an exact replica of the ride Dinosaur, where you're going back in time and up a ramp, and then the dips come at the same time. So if you're really, really, really paying attention, you can see that there is a theme there. But otherwise, I just think this is below Disney's level.
Yeah, I agree. I think that 99.99% of people are not going to ride this ride with enough attention to detail or knowledge of the parks to be able to enjoy that aspect of the ride. And I think that, like, even when you do, it's still unpleasant to actually ride the ride itself. Like, it was not something that I enjoyed riding. It was uncomfortable. Like you said, it was very jerky. You'd wait in line for this thing and then be like, really? That's what I waited for? So I think D is a good, good place to have it.
If you were a party of 2 or 1, they made you go in with another family and you couldn't do anything about it. And when you're bumping into other families' kids, like, that's just really uncomfortable and I don't like that. So I have to say I'm not really that upset that this ride doesn't exist anymore.
Yeah, this is a bit of a good riddance goodbye from me, even though I love Animal Kingdom.
They have already announced that this attraction is leaving, but it is still there, at least right now. It's tough to be a bug. This is inside the Tree of Life. It is a 3D show with one heck of a good animatronic. But besides that, it's just an average 3D show. What do you think about It's Tough to Be a Bug?
I would put it in the C tier. I think the animatronic is what's saving it for me and bringing it up to that tier. Because otherwise, the show itself is a little dated. I really, I think maybe the whole reason that I'm having an issue with this attraction to begin with is the end, where it like jolts you in your seat. I hate that. And maybe if it didn't do that, I'd have a different opinion of it. But as it is, yeah, I think it's a average to below average.
So I'm kind of upset that they're getting rid of it. I think this belongs in Animal Kingdom because I think it tells a story that they're not going to be telling anymore once it disappears. The story of bugs and how important they are to our daily lives. The one thing about us, you can't live without us, or whatever the song says. It actually is in keeping with the theme of the park to have this attraction. The animatronic is amazing. This is not the only Disney's Animal Kingdom attraction that is going to be saved from a lower spot because of an animatronic you get at the end. But I do agree that it's outdated. The part where it feels like bugs are running under your backside is definitely a little jarring, especially when you hear the kids that you can tell are just really scared by it. And it's not that good kind of scared. Like, every time I hear one kid and I feel sorry for that kid. And I just wish that wasn't the case. So I agree, C tier only because of the animatronic. Now let's go to something that might be a little bit higher. And let's pick the thing that I think is the definitive ride at Disney's Animal Kingdom. I am not saying it is the best ride at Disney's Animal Kingdom, but it is the definitive one, and that's Kilimanjaro Safari. If you are looking for a ride that shows great theming, great innovation by Imagineering, keeping the animals away from each other, even though you can't see how they're keeping them away from each other, keeping them away from you, trying to make it so even though sometimes the lions might be sleeping or the cheetahs might be sleeping, at least you can see them and the animals are as visible as possible. A lot goes into this. It has a Jungle Cruise effect too, where depending on your tour guide, You might have a better experience. You might have a great experience. So, where would you put Kilimanjaro Safari? Because I do think there's at least one ride that I think you would have ahead of it. But does that mean this would only be an A, or do you think that this could sneak up to S?
No, I think this is S. I think this is, like you said, it is the definitive ride of Animal Kingdom. I think it is, not only such an important ride to have in Animal Kingdom, but it is also a whole lot of fun to ride. It is, you could ride it a million times and have a different experience every single time. There is no getting old on this ride. It is, the animals are always going to be doing something different. There's always going to be new animals to see. You're always going to learn new animal facts. And, I it is always so exciting to go out on this, safari truck and see all these animals in as close to their natural habitat as we can actually see them in. And like you said, we don't see all the little ingenious things keeping them, safe and keeping them away from certain areas. And it really does feel like you are out on a safari.
I agree with you making this an S tier attraction. It used to be my rope drop every vacation. I always started my Walt Disney World vacation with Kilimanjaro Safari. Now I've ridden it so much that I probably spoiled myself. But the one thing I do want to say, especially if you're not experiencing this ride a lot, don't go into it with an animal you want to see. Just go and try to see, because you don't know. Today the cheetah might be active. Tomorrow the lion might be active. You might be stuck behind a rhino or a giraffe for 20 minutes and have the best time, and they will not move, the animals. So if you get caught behind a giraffe that's just feeding right in front of you, you can end up having the best view in the park and just sit there for a really long time. So, a great point that you made. It's never the same ride, and just let the ride come to you. Don't expect anything. And there are times that you will be stuck behind a giraffe for 20 minutes. So they might cut out a whole section of the ride, and your tour guide might take you somewhere else so that you skip parts of it. So don't expect to see any animal in particular, and just get excited about what you do see, because something will be active when you're there.
Yeah, that's a great point.
So Gorilla Falls Exploration Trail, much like Maharaja Jungle Trek, this one I don't think I like it quite as much as Maharaja Jungle Trek, except for the last time I did it, which was with you, when we saw the gorilla climb to the top of the tree and proceed to, let's just say, mark his territory from about 30 feet in the air.
Yep.
That was definitely a fun experience. I think I'm going to have to put Gorilla Falls at a C, because if Maharaja Jungle Trek, which is a longer and better themed walk than Gorilla Falls, I can't put them on the same tier. So I think I want to put this as a C.
Yeah, I completely agree with you. And I think it's the theming that really does it. Maharaja is so well themed, and Gorilla Falls doesn't have the same level of dedication to the theme, even though it's still a great trail to do. And I do it, almost every time I'm in the park. I think it's C.
And this one is not part of our tier list. I just wanted to add it, that a lot of people don't know there's a walking trail around Discovery Island that takes you right up by the Tree of Life. If you ever get the chance to do that, do it. It takes you, maybe 5 minutes. You might get to see some kangaroos. You can see up close and personal a lot of those handcrafted wood sculptures in the Tree of Life. So it's not an official attraction, but try to make sure that you're always experiencing Animal Kingdom, not just in this ride, then this ride, then this ride, that you're walking off the beaten path a little bit every once in a while.
Yeah, that's a great thing to call out because it is a really cool trail. And getting to see the tree of life up close like that is pretty breathtaking. I mean, you see it from far away and you see some of the animals, but getting to see up close the level of details carved into all these animals, it is really, really fun.
Okay, we're going to do a little bit of a lightning round now with a couple of these. The Up Bird Show. I'm going to say it has to be a D. Like, this is not very exciting. The one joke, the Fraser Crane joke, ha ha ha, very funny. That's about it. So I'm just going to throw that down as a D. Triceratops Spin. This is another one that might be going away soon in Dino Land USA. It's basically Dumbo. I think we could put it as a C because at least it is a ride. Kids can enjoy it, and it never has more than a 10-minute wait.
Yeah, that's fair. It's nice to have something for the younger kids.
Cali River Rapids is a great ride, except for the fact that most of the time when you go to the parks, as much as Maz and I go to the parks, you don't want to get wet. I think I would have to give this a C as well, just because you can get either drenched, or I find if you're prepared to get drenched, you don't get a drop on you and you start sweating because you've wrapped yourself in trash bags.
Yeah, my heart says it's a D tier, but fairness will put it in C.
Right, if I was on vacation, I would want to do it. The Finding Nemo musical, I think, is really, really good. They took a movie that did not have songs in it and they made a musical out of it, and they did a pretty good job of it. In the Big Blue World, that song will get stuck in your head for the rest of the day. The puppetry on this ride is also really creative. I think that the actors and actresses who take part in this have to have a lot going on at the same time and have to be very, very talented. They're singing, they're operating puppets. You start to not notice the people holding the puppets, which is something that is pretty astounding. But besides that, it is definitely the second best musical at Animal Kingdom. So I'm going to go with B
True.
tier there.
I think that's completely fair.
Rafiki's Planet Watch, that is basically a petting zoo with an animation class that you can take there. Both of those things are excellent and definitely the purpose of the park, but not something that I'm going to do every time, not something that I'm going to say you have to make sure you do this when you're on vacation. So I'm going to give that a B tier. Now we're going to wrap things up with the 5 big experiences that aren't Kilimanjaro Safari. Probably going to be replaced with Indiana Jones at some point, at least judging by those cast members who we saw the last time we were at Animal Kingdom,
Right.
who were like mourning the loss of Dinosaur. And this was like half a year ago. So they definitely jumped the gun on that one.
It's not
Dinosaur
surviving the year.
is a very, very good ride. I always loved it when I came on vacation, but they are not giving it the love that it should get. It's getting way too dark in there. When you've done the Indiana Jones ride, which has the same ride layout over in Disneyland, I think you can tell this is definitely the second best version. So I'm going to have to go with maybe a B tier for this.
Yeah, I think a B tier is fair. It is a great ride. It's something that I will be sad to see go, but ultimately it does need a lot of love that it hasn't received over the years, and at this point you can tell.
Navi River Journey is actually my mother's favorite ride at Animal Kingdom for some reason. She loves it. It's relaxing. It is a beautiful ride. Like, if you can just get out of that vacation mode where it's go, 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 and just appreciate the scenery around you, I think Navi River Journey is pretty entertaining. And then if the animatronic shaman at the end of the ride is working, this is definitely something that I think could creep up towards A tier, but I'm going to say B tier only because that animatronic does not work all the time. And if you wait an hour to do Navi River Journey and you just get the shaman on a screen at the end, it is very disappointing.
Yeah, I agree. I think this is one of those rides that makes me wish we had like a B plus tier, because it is really good and I do really enjoy it. And I think it is better than a lot of the rides in the B tier, but it's not quite A tier level to the point where I'd say, you have to wait an hour or more to do this ride, even if this is like your only trip in the next 5 years.
Major Peter Pan effect going on here where
Yeah.
the amount you have to wait for it impacts where I would rank it, because this always has long lines and it's just not worth more than an hour at all.
Yeah, exactly. Even though it is beautiful, if you're a vacationer on a time crunch, this is not going to be worth an hour long wait.
So I forget, answer this, and I don't remember if you have ever done Flight of Passage.
Hmm.
Okay,
Yep,
you have done Flight of Passage. All right.
I have.
This is a lot of people, they will say this is the best theme park ride in all of Orlando. And then I think you will find people who really, really hate it. I am going to say that technologically, it's great. It is beautiful. The theming and the immersion, making you feel like you're actually doing this thing while you're staring at a screen. They do a great job of all of that. I'm going to make the case for this being a B tier ride, though. Do you agree with me, first of all?
Oh, I'm very much with you, and I'm glad that I'm not going to be facing the boos and jeers alone on this one.
I am too tall to ride this ride sometimes. If I wear Hokas, I've told this story before. If I wear Hokas, the soles are too thick and my legs become too long to ride this. There are a lot of people who are too short to ride this. There are people who are too heavy to ride this. There are people who have motion sickness issues who can't ride this. There are people who have fears of heights who can't ride this. Plus, the line for this ride ends up being like, some days it'll be 3, 4, 5 hours to ride this ride. And if you wait for 3.5 hours and then find out that your legs are a half inch too long, yeah, they're going to give you an anytime lightning lane. But what does that really do? This is the longest wait in all of Walt Disney World. So it's not going to make up for the time that you lost. I know when I took my mother on this, the one time she ever rode it, we had a fast pass for it. And when she got off the ride, she said, if I would have waited 2 hours for that, I never would have gone to Disney with you ever again. And I feel it's too polarizing for the major e-ticket attraction of a theme park.
I agree. And I think that it is, without a doubt, a technological marvel. But I agree with everything you've said. And I'm also going to add that the pre-show is way too long. And I think that takes away from it because you have, you're getting close to riding. You think, oh, finally, I've waited, 2 hours for this ride. I'm finally going to ride. And then you have like this 10-15 minute pre-show that's in multiple stages that you have to go through. And you're like, I just want to get on the ride already. And honestly, there are trips where I don't want to deal with the pre-show, so I won't ride the ride,
Mm-hmm.
which I know makes me sound like the spoiled Disney adult I am. I know that. I understand that, but sometimes I physically cannot do a pre-show in addition to a long ride. I just can't do it.
And also, when you're talking about that pre-show for Flight of Passage, I feel like it's so annoying. I know that one of my favorite jokes I ever made on Twitter, and it got no traction for some reason, but there was an Avatar version of Frosted Flakes that were released, and I shared the story on Twitter and put, they're, great. Because the guy who hosts that pre-show just says in between, like, it is so annoying. It's every couple of words. And fly. So I was
Yeah,
like,
and I
yeah, Frosted
know
Flakes, they're um great.
I'm going to be digging through your Twitter now to find that because that is absolutely hysterical. And it's true. He does say it a lot, and I can't blame him. It's the script he was given. So no fault to the actor. But it is something that makes you think, why didn't they just cut a couple of those? But then also, I've started to notice the last couple times I did ride it, the screen is getting a little fuzzy. And I feel like it needs, an update or a little patch there that it hasn't gotten. Um, and I think if you wait 3 hours for this ride that's supposed to be highly immersive, and you get on, and the screen is fuzzy, so you see there's little multiple images where the 3D isn't fully working, it completely takes you out of the immersion. And I think that you'll be a little disappointed.
I agree 100% in both things that you said. One, it has the Soren problem where even if it's a walk on, which Flight of Passage is hardly ever a walk on, but if it were a walk on, you still have to set aside a half hour to do it. And it has the Rise of the Resistance problem where they can't update it. They can't give it some TLC because they just can't afford to have it down for a day, because then the lines everywhere else would be huge. People who paid a full day theme park ticket for Animal Kingdom without Flight of Passage, a lot of people would be very, very upset about that. So I agree. I just think that there are a lot of issues with this ride, even though it's great.
Yeah, definitely. It is a great ride. Definitely not saying anything to the contrary there. It is a fantastic ride. But I just don't think it is without its detractors as well.
And I think we're just going to end up having these last two things both be S tier. So maybe we lost a little bit of the drama by me saving them. But just very quickly, Festival of the Lion King. This is basically seeing a Broadway quality show in a theme park, and it runs like 7 or 8 times a day.
Yes, S tier from a production standpoint, the show is so good. You go into it, you essentially get a condensed Broadway show in a theme park, which is just incredible. Everyone is so talented in this show, and they are doing it like 8 times a day, which is such a feat, to be able to do this and perform at this level. Um, it is one of those things that's just fun. It is just pure fun. And you get to sit for like 40 minutes. So there you go. You get a little break and enjoy this incredible performance.
And then I'm going to let you, the person who rode this ride 20 times in a row in the same day, I cannot disagree with you. This is such an amazing ride. It's next level Big Thunder Mountain Railroad. If I didn't have the nostalgia goggles for Big Thunder, I would probably say that this is a better ride. I do think that it's not quite as accessible as Big Thunder, but Expedition Everest, for a thrill ride at Disney, it has the thrills, it has the theming, just basically perfect all around.
It has everything you could want. This is an easy S tier for me. Like you said, rode it 20 times in a day. I plan to go back to try to break that record at some point. It is it is really fun. Like when I say this is what a thrill ride should be, I mean that it is the perfect level, 30 to 40 of minutes, thrilling to be enjoyable. And, you're screaming, you got your hands up if that's your thing. And it does thrill you without being too intense for, I think, a wide audience of people. I do think there are some people who, won't be able to ride it because they don't do roller coasters like that or thrill rides like that, or, they don't like how it feels when you go backwards. But I still think that it is accessible to a large majority of theme park goers. And I think that it is a great, great addition to Disney, where it's just a touch more thrilling than something you might find in another park, but it's still something that even kids can enjoy.
So hopefully I accomplished my ulterior motive, which was to get Maz to talk about Animal Kingdom for 30 to 40 minutes. And then hopefully she will get off of the Skype call with me and start planning her next trip to Walt Disney World, because she's got to go for 21. Come on.
Yeah.
There is
Yeah,
no
twist my
way.
arm.
And with the way crowds are now, it'll be easy to get that 21st ride in
Oh.
there. But anyway, thank you so much for being here, Maz.
Thank you so much for having me and letting me ramble about Animal Kingdom for 30 to 40 minutes.
Just to recap our final tier list for Disney's Animal Kingdom, in the D tier, we have the Up Bird Show and Primeval Whirl. In the C tier, it's Triceratops Spin, It's Tough to Be a Bug, Gorilla Falls Exploration Trail, and Cali River Rapids. That's actually a pretty solid C tier, which shows just how great it is at Animal Kingdom. In the B tier, we ranked Maharaja Jungle Trek, the Finding Nemo musical, Rafiki's Planet Watch, Dinosaur, Navi River Journey, and our most controversial opinion might be having Avatar Flight of Passage in this mid-range area. The A tier is probably also going to raise some eyebrows. Maz wanted Rivers of Light on there, and it ended up being the only A tier attraction we put on the list. As for the best of the best, the cream of the crop, the S tier was pretty obvious. It would be hard to argue with Kilimanjaro Safaris, Festival of the Lion King, and Expedition Everest. Feel free to add your opinions in the comments on the Tall Guy Talks Travel with Rick Doherty YouTube channel. We want to keep seeing our subscriber numbers growing because Maz and I, in particular, want to accomplish some big things later this year. Make sure to go to the YouTube channel and just click that subscribe button. It's so easy, and it's hard to express how much it will help us. This has been episode 168 of Tall Guy Talks Travel with Rick Doherty. Maz will be back again next Thursday when we talk about the process of planning where to stay on a Walt Disney World vacation. Picking a hotel can sometimes be a quick decision, but one that can have a big impact on your enjoyment. Until then, have a great week.